Righto, so this is the longest video I will probably ever put up on YouTube. Um, Today, I just want to discuss an ethical standard for long riding. Um, the elephant in the room is the too raw to ride guy. Um, he originally set out to do 2,400 miles in 100 days and was immediately called out for that. Um, he's obviously not going to do 2,400 miles in 100 days, and his behaviour since has been absolutely deplorable. Um, he has no idea what he's doing. He's made an absolute fool of himself, and he's spent more time deleting comments on Instagram, TikTok, and every other platform than I believe to be humanly possible. Most recently, though, he's posted the following video, which I think we can all agree is very distressing.
You okay, buddy? Hope he's not colicking. He's not sweating. You're good, Pete. They'll be alright. We're gonna take care of you. They'll be alright.
Righto, so that video pissed me off and a lot of people off. I don't believe the horse has colic. It's very rare. In fact, I've never heard of a horse sort of colicking mid-ride like that. I think the horse is tied up. I don't have time to explain it in this video. Google it. He probably should have. But yeah, that horse shouldn't be ridden. I think we can all agree on that. And it's breached every ethical standard for long riding there is, basically. But then you've got the people judging him. And quite honestly, I'm absolutely disgusted by their behaviour. There are a bunch of TikTokers in particular that are making content for likes. They are just a pack of narcissistic lunatics that don't know the first thing about long riding, and this is all about them. I mean, I agree that Cyril should be stopped. His behaviour is terrible, but the behaviour of those trying to stop him, it's even worse. And anytime people bring up the Long Riders Guild, I'm going to address that elephant in the room as well and just say it's arguable that the founding members of the Long Riders Guild don't even meet the requirements for being in their own guild. Their rides have a lot of question marks about them. They say one of the things about being in the guild is you have to be able to help people and stuff like that. They don't help anyone. They don't even answer emails. They are outdated, irrelevant, and they love shaming people. In fact, they have a Hall of Shame on their website there. Now, I've met some of those riders in the Hall of Shame, and I can tell you that their side of the story is very, very different to the one painted by the Long Riders Guild. And I actually side with the riders, not the guild on this. And the sad fact is there is no unambiguous statement in regards to what constitutes an ethical long ride. So that got me thinking. We need to have an unambiguous statement what constitutes an ethical long ride. So it's not the opinion of narcissistic TikTokers that are doing it for likes. It's not the opinion of the founders of the Long Riders Guild whose ride history is questionable at best, who haven't ridden in decades, who maintain a website to continue selling books but actually do not offer any help to long riders. So myself, my wife, a bunch of other long riders, we got together and we thought that we would produce an unambiguous ethical standard for the long ridden horse that we would share publicly, so that anyone wanting to take a long ride in the future could use this as a reference point, and they can self-assess before they go out, and they can defend themselves publicly should anyone question their ethics. And we strongly feel that if you follow the guidelines that we've sort of come up with, you're going to be safe. You're going to be ethically riding. And so I've published this on our webpage, which is beprofessionallookcool.com. I'll put a link in the descriptions, and I'll just go through it quickly. So this is going to be the longest video, as I said, I've done, because it's going to take a while to get through. But I've got to split this into two. There's constant factors that affect all long rides, and then there's factors that are more relevant for people that want to go a bit faster. So the first thing, the rider or gear carried on a pack horse must be of an ethical weight for the horse. You can determine this using a formula I've got in another one of my videos. That's the ethical carrying capacity of a horse. You can find it online there, or with the consultation of an equine professional. I always recommend people ask vets or equine professionals. Those guys know best. But at the end of the day, if you think you're too big for your horse, you probably are. Next, I cannot stress how important this is. The saddle must be correctly fitted, with no weight placed outside the saddle support area. This can be determined with the help of a professional saddle fitter or preferably an equine ergonomicist. In short, there's one area on the horse we can place weight, and if you're putting a roll bag on its spine in the lumbar section, you're damaging your horse. If you're draping stuff over the withers, you're damaging your horse. Saddle fit for a long ride is exactly the same as saddle fit for any other ride. The saddle must be fitted correctly. Next, the rider must be of a physical standard capable of riding the horse in a balanced manner. One leg's longer than the other, your spine's crooked, the horse is crooked, any number of things. If you're not balanced, you are going to ruin the horse. You can have this assessed by a suitable riding coach, and if need be, see a physical therapist. Next, the rider must provide suitable hoof care for their horse at all times and must have a budget great enough to do so for the duration of their journey. No hoof, no horse. The rider should only ride a horse of a condition score of no less than 4 and no greater than 6, stopping when needed to allow the horse to regain weight. You can find a condition score guide online or with the advice of an equine professional. Keep coming back to that point. If not sure, ask the professionals. If your horse has a condition score of 5, it can carry you properly. If it's 4 or less, it's skinny and it's struggling. If it's 6, 7, 8, or 9, it's fat and it has to carry that fat as well as you, so it will struggle. The rider must have a basic partnership established with their horse and make every effort for the horse to have either an equine partner or choose a horse that does not suffer from separation anxiety. Horses are herd animals, guys. You're either their herd, or you've got a herd for them. They work so much better in pairs. The rider must have means of safely securing all horses in their care overnight with either hobbles, tethers, high lines, or electric fences. Got to be able to tie your horse up at night, feed it, keep it safe. Goes without saying. The rider must have a budget great enough to ensure all horses in their care can receive emergency medical treatment at any time and, if needed, emergency transport to a safe location. Goes without saying. The rider must have a good understanding of equine health needs, carry appropriate items to diagnose and treat potential issues, as well as an up-to-date vaccinations and documentations for all horses in their care. Goes without saying. The rider must ensure their horse is physically and mentally sound, is not lame, and is fit to ride. Goes without saying. The rider must be able to undertake basic tasks under stressful conditions without assistance. This includes mounting from the ground, managing a horse in traffic, walking past livestock, dogs, water obstacles, and bridges. There's a lot of people that can't do the most basic things like walking past cows that go on long rides. You need to be of a minimum standard, and many people don't reach it. The horse should be fully grown and preferably have at least 2 seasons of education and conditioning. This is ambiguous. But in an ideal world, the horse should be at least 6, so its bones are fully developed, and have some experience. We're riding with a younger horse at the moment, but we're riding at a slower speed in a different way to give the horse experience, so as he comes of age, he's going to be a fantastic horse. Like I say, that's an ambiguous statement, but you need to be prepared to defend that one if you're riding something under the age of, say, 6, 7, or 8. The rider must have a good understanding of their horse's nutritional requirements and provide adequate food, electrolytes, and water at all times. Goes without saying. And this, I think, is the most important one. The rider must, at all times, take responsibility for their actions. the way their actions affect their horse, and at all times look for their mistakes leading to failures and setbacks rather than blaming the horse. It is always your fault. When something goes wrong, try and figure out what you did wrong to cause it. So that brings us to the variable factors affecting long rides. And that is, if a rider wishes to travel over a distance of 1,000 kilometers at a speed of greater than 150 kilometers per week, the following considerations must be made for ethical treatment of the horse. Firstly, the rider must have completed appropriate training for both themselves and the horse. Now, contrary to what many people believe, many horses are in suitable condition to long ride with only a small amount of specific training, provided they have a good base level of fitness. So we come up with a fitness test, which I'll get to at the end, so you can test your gear, your fitness, and the horses. The rider must have tested gear prior to setting out at speed, by traveling at speed in order to diagnose and eliminate any points of potential wear on the horse. This is part of the fitness test as well, but the faster you go, the faster you figure out if your gear is fitted correctly or not. 5-10 minutes of canter and gallop, you will figure out in that time the same thing you figure out in a day or two of walking. If you're going to rub, if things are going to fall apart, they fall apart slowly, or if they fall apart quickly at the canter and gallop, you have a chance to fix it before you get out on the road. The rider must be prepared to dismount and walk as much as 1/3 of the journey. If you're going to do a long ride, you need to preserve your horse. Walk downhill, walk over dynamic terrain, anywhere where the horse is going to be a greater degree of physical stress, get off and walk. It makes a huge difference. The rider must ensure adequate time daily for their horse to rest and graze. It is suggested the rider is mounted no more than 7 hours a day with a lunch stop and a 24-hour rest after every 30 hours ridden. It's not an endurance race. This is a marathon, and you need to keep your horse fed at all times. He needs grass in his guts to stop him getting ulcers. He needs to just keep that metabolism just ticking over. We stop and check gut noise all around the horse. We check hydration. We check heart rate. We do all of those things like an endurance vet check. 7 hours a day gives the horse adequate time to rest, hydrate, eat. A rest after every 30 hours, it's a great way to let the hours ridden set your speed and distance rather than how many kilometers you want to do. As soon as you focus on the kilometers rather than time riding, the quicker you ruin your horse. And that we agonized over, and that number comes directly from consultation with current long riders. Okay, next, the rider must have a good understanding of their horse's baseline heart rates and know how to take a horse's heart rate and monitor throughout a long ride. This is essential to make sure your horse is being given adequate recovery time and that your horse's condition is consistent. Heart rate will tell you if it's colicking, if it's not getting enough rest, if it's not recovering, if it's in pain. A lot of things you can tell from it. If you know how to take your heart rate, boom, there it is, straight away. Next, the rider must ensure with the extra workload placed upon the horse, its feeding requirements cannot fall below a minimum of 8 to 12 kilograms of dry matter per day, supplemented with a vet-approved supplementary feed and electrolytes daily. The horses really need that salt. They really need it, and they need a bit of supplementary feed. I'm not going to tell you what to feed. Talk to a vet. Horses for courses, and it differs the world over. Okay, next, the rider must be prepared to stop immediately should the horse suffer dramatic weight loss, present as lame, and if on a journey documented on social media, be prepared to publicly get the horse vet cleared in order to present an ethical view of long riding and long riders. Goes without saying, too raw to ride. The rider must understand that distances greater than an average of 32 kilometers per day are very difficult to maintain. And for these to be achieved, you need an elite level horse and a very high level of fitness. As a result, we do not recommend travel above an average of 40 kilometers per day as ethical over long distance. If you average over 40 kilometers per day for a week, your horse needs a lot of time off. If not, you have one of the most elite level horses in the world. And actually, I've got one. But still, we average about 32 Ks a day. 7 hours, a little bit of trot, 37, 38 Ks in a day sort of thing. That's fine as long as you're getting the rest days. Next, the last one, the rider must have a detailed understanding of saddle fit and the ability to adjust fit on the road. If you can't adjust the saddle fit on the road, you're going to wreck your horse. You need to know what you're doing. And we didn't when we started, and it cost our horses and it cost us. It took me 6 years to figure that one out, but needs to be done. Okay, last one, basic fitness test. I think a good way to see if you're fit enough for the road is to do 7 rides of 25 kilometers in 4 hours every other day for 14 days. You should do at least 20,000 steps per day, every day. I mean, it's easy to measure, just measure it on your smartphone. On the road, I average between 40 and 60,000 steps per day. And that's for, our last ride was 11 days and we averaged 36 kilometers a day. But that's on, again, elite level horses and very flat ground that time. But yeah, you need to do that trot, that canter, and even a bit of gallop, preferably over dynamic hilly country. And if you can do those rides every other day, record the baseline heart rates, check your horse's hydration, and just basically see how all your gear goes. If you can do that, that's a good standard to start a long ride. You shouldn't have any pain. I mean, I'm always in pain, I'm old and broken, but you should have minimal pain, minimal knee pain. You've tested your saddle fit, you've tested all your gear, and you should be good to go. Now, I know of a guy that I should have probably introduced at the start of this video. His name's Gonzo. Gonzo's just done 105 days on his horse Sender, beautiful little mare. He rode her solo for most of the trip through Spain. He doesn't know how many kilometers he did because kilometers don't matter. He did somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 kilometers in 105 days. He met a beautiful lady. I'm so happy for him. His horse didn't have a single rub, didn't present as lame once. It had a couple of allergic reactions, got a bump on its side at one point. The guy called me every time anything went wrong. He rode to this ethical standard to the letter. I cannot congratulate him enough. And this is a guy that would have been lucky to have 100 hours horse experience before setting out on the ride. He followed the ethical standard. He presented everything beautifully on social media. He's a wonderful human being. He's kind, he's humble, he's respectful, he's knowledgeable, and at the end of 105 days on the road, his life has been changed forever. He can't go back to work. Instead, he's had a talk with my wife and I about his next steps, which will be taking him to Australia. He's going to ride the Bicentennial Trail, he's going to look for stock work in Australia, and he's a horseman. He did it right. It's a simple ethical standard. You can find it on our webpage. You can talk to us. You can come out to the farm and ride with us. You can learn about saddle fit. We don't charge anything. And I really hope you've enjoyed this video. And I really hope that I've ended it on a positive note. That after 6 years of making mistakes, I've made them all of them. I'm now in a position to help others not make the mistakes I've made. And to have Gonzo go and ride so perfectly is just, I'm so bloody proud of him. Anyway, peace be with you all. Have a great day. And if you'd like to talk about this or tell me it's completely wrong, feel free to. Cheers, guys.